Hey, everybody. Welcome to the urenuf.life podcast. My name is Michael, and
I'm Jordan Miller.
I'm so glad to have Jordan on the show today. Jordan has, for some reason, decided to be my co-host. So we'll figure that out as the season goes. Jordan, I just am so grateful that you're on the show and that you have chosen to do some creativity with me. I would love for you to share what drew you to the whole urenuf.life project. And what are you looking forward to in our partnership?
Yeah. Well, I think oftentimes a lot of us in society can feel like we're behind. And that usually stems from the premise that we are lacking in life. And so the concept of you are enough, I think, really mitigates that perspective that we each can carry in life. And I've been studying out within myself and my own personal studies, both tied to my faith and outside of my faith. Why is it that we can feel behind in life? And why is it that we even just feel like we aren't enough? And why is this a common theme amongst all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, regardless of their background? I think a lot of us have felt behind or like that we lack being enough in life. So I love this project that you're putting together, Michael, because it's really started to put out there that you are enough where you are at. And a common theme in my life that I've found is it's okay to be where I'm at right now. Sometimes you want to make progress in life, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to make progress, but you just have to remember that where you are right now, there's so much to be learned. So let's hold on to the present instead of just focusing on the future all the time.
Thanks for being here. You're saying that you're attracted to this because you grapple every day with a sense of not being enough, a sense of not being on track. Like, this is something that everybody can relate to.
Yes.
And so one of the other things that I'm excited about is that you and I are not the same age. I don't know if anybody out there can tell, but we're different ages from different generations. And so
Really? Gasp.
yeah, there's two things that I'm after. I wanted to offer in the second half of my life, I wanted to offer whatever wisdom I pulled together. And that is not to say that I consider myself a wise person. That is only to say that I've been through some things and I think I have something to offer the younger generation. So the brand is urenuf.life, content for wisdom and contentment. So when you hear content for wisdom and contentment, what resonates for you? What is it about those two categories, wisdom and contentment, that have something for you? What do those two words do or stir in you?
Yeah, I would say, well, wisdom and contentment. I think the Bible talks a lot about how valuable wisdom is.
Yep.
And it's so interesting actually that you bring up wisdom, because I think a repeated theme that I've been seeing and come up in my life, whether it's on social media feed or even what I'm reading in the Bible, is how a lack of wisdom can actually hinder us from having a healthy relationship with God. And not even just a healthy relationship with God, I think that translates into even a healthy life. A lack of wisdom hinders our ability to have a healthy life. And I think pairs really well with contentment, because for one, I know from my own experience, I've lacked contentment a lot. And I lack contentment, especially when I don't feel like I'm enough.
You're bringing it full circle.
And at the same time too, though, I've studied out what is contentment. And I've found that the definition of contentment is, if you look it up in Webster's dictionary, it'll say that it is ultimate satisfaction and peace of mind.
Okay.
And so when I think about having wisdom, I think wisdom usually produces peace of mind, but also too, I think there's a wisdom in having ultimate satisfaction with the choices you make in life.
Yeah, those categories really make me happy. To think about ultimate satisfaction and peace of mind.
Yeah.
I think about the song, an old hymn where the line is something like, all is at rest. I can't remember the rest of the song, but just this idea of being at rest, peace of mind. And what I'm hoping that you, listener or watcher, are going to get out of the content that we create, I hope that you get a sense that, yes, there is a way to grow in ultimate satisfaction and peace of mind. And it's probably not going to come through a glowing rectangle. You may get some good ideas, but this is very satisfying for me just to sit here, have a great conversation with someone that really is full of life like you are, that is interested in what I'm interested in. We're pursuing something together, and it has something to do with God. It has something to do with our desires for life. And the world is a pretty nasty, gnarly place. So if we can find peace of mind, we are winning.
Yeah.
So I really hope that you all enjoy what we're about to create. Today, what we want to do is talk about a book that Jordan is very excited about. And what I want to do is just listen and let you share first. How did you come across this book and what you're excited about? And then maybe in the second round, just a little bit about what is the effect of this book having on you, and why do you think it's relevant for your age group, or maybe even my age group?
Yeah.
But first off, how did you come across the book? Maybe you could show us the book.
Yep.
And how did you find it? And what is already impressive to you about what you're finding in the book?
Yeah. So this is the book, You Are Not Behind. It is written by Meghan Ryan Asbury, forwarded by Lisa Turkhurst. I think I said that right.
Yep.
I came across this book. I was having dinner with some other friends of mine who are also young professionals. And this couple that I was having dinner with, they're a married couple, and they had started their life out in their early 20s in the ministry. And then life circumstances have resulted them moving to the United States and deciding to build careers here. And now they're in their late 20s, early 30s. And during dinner, we had the conversation. I was sharing with them what my 3 goals for 2026 are. And they can all be umbrellaed under the word contentment. These goals provoked a conversation on each of us sharing areas in our life where we've either felt insecure, where we felt that we are behind the peers of our age, and even we shared vulnerably about some of the negative self-talk that we have to fight against in our minds, which I'm really encouraged to see that negative self-talk is a common struggle amongst other people. I mean, I wish it wasn't a struggle we face, but it's refreshing to know that we are not alone in that battle. That's why it's encouraging to know we are not alone in that battle. But nonetheless, that conversation, they shared with me a book that they had read together as a married couple, and it was this book right here. So I came across the book given the context that I'm trying to focus on contentment really for 2026. And
Great.
they felt that this would be a great read. And I actually will say, now that I've finished the book as of last week, it's probably going to be something I read again this year. I've found the book to be very, very helpful when it comes to navigating thoughts of comparison, navigating thoughts of self-doubt, navigating the thoughts that you are not where you're supposed to be. And the book, I feel like, just has a lot of insight and wisdom. It talks about it's okay to grieve the fact that your life did not turn out how you expected it to. Another point, though, that the book really talked about that I really clung to, and we can maybe talk about this more in another episode, is this lesson of detaching from specific outcomes.
Yeah.
I think disappointment oftentimes stems from us being so fixated on a specific outcome in life, when the part of contentment is learning to be surrendered to wherever you are currently in life. And that requires you to detach from an expectation for what life should look like for yourself. Another thing that got me really excited about this book is it really shared, near the end of the book, the author did a great job of sharing how can we grow in contentment, and how can we actually look at ourselves, and how do we overcome that feeling of being behind. I'd love to share more on that here in a bit.
Great. So to start with, you're having a conversation with friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to mark, is that, Jordan, you got a book recommendation that's influencing your New Year's resolutions, and your, maybe not New Year's resolution, but your focus. And you got the recommendation by being in community or in the physical presence of other people.
Yes.
And then you're sharing about all these different categories of how it's helping you. So I just think the first thing that I would mark is that you're doing this in community and with friends, and they're sharing their experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I think that's worth naming and noticing. So after the time of dinner with your friends, you're getting into the book, and then I come along with this idea to do a podcast. Where do you see the connection between you and me, or what I'm about and what you're about? What gets you excited about this partnership, especially as it relates to the book?
Well, I think the initial blatant answer is I think we're very similar in personalities. And I think there's actually a lot of people who, like, we have an intergenerational friendship, and I have a lot of friends who are old enough to be my parents, and I have a lot of friends who are my age. And I do want to put out there, listeners, that for the younger generation who is around my age, I'm in my 20s, you can definitely find people you can relate to who are older than you.
You can?
Surprisingly, you can. But in all honesty, yes, you can find people you can relate to. Like, Michael and I have a very great friendship where we have a similar sense of humor, a similar sense of optimism with life. And I would even say we have a similar way of phrasing things and connecting with emotions.
That's true.
And I believe that there's so much you can learn as a younger person from someone who's already walked ahead of you in life. And it's easier to learn from that person if you guys have similar traits.
There you go.
And so, just to put that out there, I really encourage you, if you have the chance, to really try to connect with someone who is in a different stage of life as you. And so, going back to your question though, Michael, what has really provoked this partnership, outside of just the fact that we have a great friendship, our partnership also stems from, I think we have a very similar goal in mind, which we have a desire to bring healing in this world and share the good news of God, which is the gospel, but also to just like the ways that he is transforming our lives to the world, and whether you're a person of faith or whether you are not a person of faith,
Right.
you are welcome in this space. And we will talk about Jesus, but our goal is to never force him down your throat, but really just share what he's been doing in our lives. And then also too, to have conversations that are tied to maybe a religious background, and then also conversations that include people who don't come from a religious background as well. And I appreciate the fact, Michael, that is a value of yours.
Yeah.
That gets me excited to partner with you as well in this podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And I appreciate what you're saying. You said what we desire is to bring healing. I think for me, the healing comes through knowing what you mean by what you're saying and what you mean by what you're not saying. So I'm running a men's fire that you have come to.
Yes.
So a couple of things. I'm aware for you, the listener, like when older folks offer something, take the offer. And when you need something, ask for it. Like, I'm just going to put two simple bids out there. And what I did, Jordan, is I put energy out there and I said, I'm going to create a space where guys actually talk about their feelings. I wonder who will show up. And you are one of the people who showed up. And it's a beautiful thing to be around men that are willing to be uncomfortable and awkward and figure out how they're feeling about life. That's beautiful. It's also a beautiful thing for me to offer something and then see people receive it. So like the whole loop is complete. We all have something beautiful to offer. The hell that can be social media is when I put my beauty out there, whatever it is, my art, my raw experience, and then someone chooses to vilify it or try to make me feel small or stupid for having put it out there. That is utterly awful, evil, dismissive behavior. And what you and I are trying to do is heal that wound and bring strength and groundedness. No, man, it's totally okay to have big feelings. Totally okay to cry. Totally okay to laugh. Totally okay to have questions in your faith. Totally okay to fall down and stumble and make mistakes. And even, I'll use the S word, even to sin it's part of the situation. It's not that we're somehow trying to control everything, shut down all the feelings, and the only thing you can ever feel is mad when you're driving.
Yeah.
That's not what we're going for here. So I sense a readiness for depth from you, and I sense truly respect from you, and so that it just feels like the right thing to do. So to capture this and then put it out for the world to see and consume and consider, like, ooh, I want an intergenerational friendship. I hope that we can inspire some folks to go talk to the older people at your job, the older people or younger people, depending on what generation you're in, people that you go to worship with, people that you go to the gym with, people that you're meeting or running by or walking by every day. They probably have something to offer you. You've helped me to understand, why do 20-year-olds not respond to their texts?
Yes.
And I learned a lot, but I had to be humble to the real lived experience that your generation is having with all the notifications and the dings and the bips and the bops on the phone. So all that to say, I'm excited about our partnership. And I want to be sure that before we cut and get ready for the next episode, that you get a chance to talk about, what has this book shifted in you so far? What is the wisdom? Where is contentment or wisdom growing as a result of this book?
Yeah.
What is the wisdom based on what you're reading in the book?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say, starting off with just where is the wisdom, so in this chapter, it's titled, "This Isn't What It's All About." And the author does a fantastic job talking about all the things that they have longed for at this point in their life. The author, just to give you guys all context, is a female. She comes from a faith-based background as well. And she is in her late 20s, early 30s around this point in time. And she's expressing that she wants to be married. She wants to own a house. And then there's even like, those are bigger goals. But then there's even like the lack of contentment with like little things. Like, she wants to buy she literally says, I want a new outfit from Lululemon right now. I want to buy a new car that was created after the year 2020. There's so many things that that foster this idealized image of like what she wants or where she should be in life right now. But then she does a fantastic job of transitioning, and she shares about how she was really impacted by the death of Pastor Tim Keller. Not sure if you're familiar with Tim Keller. Yes, I'm a huge fan of his teachings. She shares that on his deathbed, he said, I'm thankful for all the people who prayed for me over the years. I'm thankful for my family that loves me. I'm thankful for the time God has given me, but I'm ready to see Jesus. I can't wait to see Jesus. Send me home. And
wow,
she shares how, as she was wrestling with this lack of want and studying and hearing about Tim Keller's death, she was moved by the fact that this man, who was, if you don't know, he passed away from cancer and had a slow death. And this man expressed gratitude over his life that he did live, but he also expressed a contentment of where he currently is, and paired that with, he's excited for what's ahead with his circumstances. And that was really moving to her as an individual. She was sharing how she's just moved by the intimacy he felt with Jesus. The fact that his intimacy with Jesus was so deep that he longed to be with him face to face instead of longing for things of this world.
Okay.
And I think there's an element of wisdom in that alone, because it brings the question of, what are you focusing on? What are you giving your attention to? Is it the things you lack? Or is it the things that are out of your control that you wish you could control? Or are you giving your attention to something higher than yourself? In our case, Jesus Christ, it really takes the focus off you, which alone produces a different frame of mind for how you go about life. She shares, all the running after relationships, success, and experiences in life will not fill the holes in our hearts. And she goes on to share, I understood how the reward of following God completely outweighed the risk of not following him. She's sharing about how she went through a phase where she was afraid of being normal. And in her early 20s, she was so on fire for the Lord. And she didn't want to fit in with the world. She wanted to
Right.
live a life that was truly set apart. And then as time had progressed and all of her friends started to get married, have kids, buy houses, excel in their careers, start a business, and she wasn't doing any of that, the focus started to shift back onto herself. She lost sight of fixing her eyes on Christ. When she was in her early 20s, that's when she understood that the reward of following God outweighed the risk of not following him. I think it's very similar in our walks with God. As we choose to serve him, as time progresses, our interest in him can become mundane, or the things of this world, especially when we have peers our age accomplishing things or obtaining things, it can pull our attention away from Christ himself.
Sure can. Been there.
And it's so interesting. She ends up sharing a sentence here that I underlined. I figure I'm not alone in this. There's a level of feeling behind that will always exist because we are believers in Christ. When your life is no longer lining up with those around you, when you make the hard choice to put away old things and say yes to following God, when you act in obedience, even when life is not going the way you want it to, when you continue to follow God regardless of the outcome. Those are things that can oftentimes make us feel alone in life. It's when your life is not lining up with those around you, again, your peers doing other things that you are not doing with them. When you make the hard choice to put away the old things and say yes to following God, maybe it's a past relationship that existed prior to giving your life to Christ, making the hard choice to put away old things and saying yes to still following God. Surrender is releasing that control of your life. But when we release control, oftentimes we feel behind. And I just love how relatable this author can make the reader feel. I think she produces a lot of thoughts that we can resonate with. And she's just very transparent about it. Just a couple more thoughts. She shares, following Jesus is costly. Sometimes it does cost what the world defines as the good life or success. It means it'll seem like our friends are moving on without us. It also sometimes means feeling misunderstood and worse, alone. However, surrender is the only way. Surrender doesn't always feel safe, but it's actually the most secure way to live. After that, she shares, I rarely think about what I've missed out on because I live in surrender. But I often think about what I would have missed if I didn't surrender.
Okay, yeah.
You know, have you ever had a moment in your life, Michael, where you like look back and you're like, dang, if I didn't surrender to God, I would not be where I am today. And it fosters what?
Well, you wipe your forehead and go, oh, thank goodness. And the biggest one that comes to mind is I had an engagement in 1997 that broke, and I didn't break it off. She did. So she saw my character where I was at 24 years old, and she was just like, yeah. She was incredibly honest and said, I just don't see myself being happy with you, which sounds awful.
Yeah.
But actually, it was a huge gift that she had enough integrity to see where all of our dynamics were going and to go, yeah, this isn't the right guy. And yes, it totally stunk that it was 3 weeks before the wedding.
Oh, wow.
But I am grateful that I ultimately surrendered. I think I did protest in my heart and in my mind, and I reacted and acted out and did all kinds of things I'm not proud of in the wake of that.
Yeah.
But even that was a pathway to understanding the heart of God and understanding myself a little better. Yes, I'm 100% with the author. I wanted. But I think what she's getting at is, wait, it's okay to have desire. Just let God be with you in those desires, and don't grasp and need and like clutching and clawing for the things we want. It's better to hold kind of open hands and be ready to receive when God's ready to give, or when the situation aligns itself.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing from that. So yes, I can absolutely relate. Even though I am not a millennial or a Gen Z, I absolutely can relate to what she's writing about. And this is why I'm so glad we're together, because I would think that if you and I were not friends, and if you didn't have friends outside of your generation, you would think that y'all are the only ones that deal with this. No, everybody's dealing with comparison.
Right.
I hear what you're reading and I'm going, oh, that's comparison, comparison, comparison. So when we say, I'm behind, I'm not enough. Well, relative to what? Relative to whom
Right.
are you not enough? And that we'll unpack in future episodes. We have a lot of work to do to move away from comparison and move into contentment. Move away from comparison and move into curiosity.
Yeah.
Why do I feel this? Why do I want that? Move away from comparison and control, like trying to get all the stuff or rack up all the success. That comparison and control is in direct opposition to being present and being content and spending time with God. That makes you realize, man, I've been getting quiet with God for a whole year now. I'm actually more settled in my psyche or in my identity than I was a year ago. That's what we're going for. The process of walking with God. She's motivating you to do it. I see your energy as you read it. She's motivating because she's talking your language and your experience. Well, she's talking mine too. And to her point about surrender, yes, if you combine surrender over time with gratitude over time, you're going to keep interacting with people that have not lived a life of surrender. So now the comparison is going to work in your favor because you're going to compare experiences. And this is not to say that I am better than Jordan because he's going through a hard time and I am past it.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm better than you. It just means I appreciate where I am.
Right.
And if I met with someone, 20 years older than me, I would be having struggles that he would look back on and go, yeah, I'm glad I'm not raising teenage boys. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We just need to really savor where we're at is what I'm getting. And part of surrender is laying down that agenda to go accomplish and to have and to do and to build and to rack up whatever it is. That's part of surrender.
Yeah.
So as easy and simple as it is to say, hey, stop doing that. We're trying to rehabituate our brains. And I love the fact that you found this book, not because you went online. You didn't Google this book. You were in conversation, and out of a conversation among friends that God gave you, you got a book recommendation that now we're creating content about the book. That's just beautiful.
It is.
That's how God works.
Yes. Well, and I want to add a couple more thoughts to what you just shared, Michael.
Sure.
And I'd also love to share another thing from this book that I like. It's one of my favorite phrases that she shared in this chapter. But first, to add to what you had just discussed about the intergenerational relationship that we share and how me sharing about my struggles works, like helps you out, it fosters gratitude in your life. I would even like to share and let the listeners know that one thing that might surprise you is that the older generation can actually provide a lot of comfort when you share your struggles with them. They can remind you that everything's going to be okay.
Told me that.
Like Michael, you do a great job of reminding me that when life is falling apart, everything's going to work out. Yeah. And as you've progressed through life, you've looked back and you've realized that there's so much that you learned from that struggle. And you sharing that provides me so much comfort when I'm wrestling with life. And listeners, I want you to just know, like, whether you are the older generation or the younger generation, there's so much to be learned from both parties when it comes to having these relationships. There's just a wealth of knowledge and insight and wisdom that you can gain from having conversations across all ages with people from all ages.
And just one thing to add to that, we are wired for connection.
Yeah.
We're not wired to go on a two-dimensional screen and Google the answer.
No.
Now it's easy.
Right.
But this isn't just for the younger generation. The older generation wants to feel valuable.
Right.
They need to remember where they've been and where they're going. So Jordan, why don't you go ahead and read last quote?
Yes.
And we will wrap up for tonight.
Yeah.
But listeners, this will not be our last conversation about the book, You Are Not Behind, because the truth is you're not behind. So what's this last quote that really got your attention?
Yeah.
You highlighted in three different colors.
So it says, God isn't after normal, American dream type lives for us. He's after our hearts. His love for us does not co-sign the plans we made for ourselves, but his love for us is so great, he invites us to dream of greater things, eternal things, things that will last much longer than feeling behind. In fact, those eternal things will last after our lives on this earth. I think it's a very necessary reminder for us to remember, what are we focusing on? Are we focusing on the things of this world, or are we focusing on something beyond ourselves? I think oftentimes as well, we can assume that God loves us, he'll give us what we want. Or that the specific outcomes that we are attached to will take effect because God loves us. When the reality is, though, his love is not tied to us getting what we want. The love from God is tied to the fact that he wants to do what he knows is best for each and every single one of us. If the things that we are expecting to happen in our lives, the things we are working for, the things that we are trying to accomplish, if those things don't happen, is God still good? And I think
it's a great question.
The answer to whether God is still good or not is going to be dependent on where you're putting your hope. And that's what, to land the plane, this is where the author is saying the key to success in being content in life stems from putting our hope in Christ and not in the things that we are striving for here on earth. And when we are feeling behind, let's just be honest, it's because we are being caught up in the mundane things, the things that don't really matter.
Yep.
And so something you can consider, Michael, and our listeners, is where are you putting your hope? What are you fixing your eyes on? And what are you thinking about more? And if you don't come from a faith-based background, think about the impacts that you can have to live a life that's in accordance to creating a better universe. But for our faith-based friends here, where are we putting our hope? Are we putting our hope in God and in Christ, or are we putting our hope in our circumstances?
Yeah, that's a great final word. I think the only thing I would add is, how often are you putting your hope there? You don't have to be spiritual to engage in that. And you don't have to be from a faith-based background to appreciate the effect of going without, I don't know, refined sugar, or going without smoking. There are health benefits to godly practices. And so I just want to underscore what you're saying, Jordan. There is just so much relief and beauty that is available over time, the more we work our way into different habits. Because the fact is, we all have habits. I think the question that you're bringing up is, are we cognizant of the impact of our habits? Number one, are we aware? And number two, do we have any desire to change the habit of comparison or change the narrative in our mind about I am behind? And if we have that desire, you're saying the book is providing practicals. We're going to try to provide content that will give you ideas on how to escape that. It's really inhumane to treat yourself like you're not enough, you're behind, you're an idiot, you're failing. And we would never let someone talk to someone we love that way. We'd be like, heck no, do not talk to my mom that way. Do not talk to my little brother that way. And somehow we let ourselves tell ourselves that we're not enough and that we're behind. I'm just trying to end on a note of let's have grace and mercy with ourselves. Please do interact with this content. If any part of this was helpful, please do the digital votes. I call them share, like, subscribe. If you rate this podcast, comment. If you do those things, I think more people will get access to this content. Without you doing that, it just stays with you. So please do pay it forward. Thank you so much for tuning into the urenuf.life podcast, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.